So Pool by Design Day 7, brought to you by Diego and Potencia Ventures. And today we're going to talk about strategy. You know, this word that nobody really knows what it is, but sounds really cool. So we are going to use the definition of Richard Rummelt from his book. And what he says is strategy is a coordinated and focused set of actions designed to overcome a challenge. That's a lot. Seems to have like pieces, right? What he proposes is that it has a diagnosis where we try to understand these obstacles, the obstacles that create the challenge, the root cause. Once we identify them, then we will create the guiding policy, an overall approach chosen to cope with or overcome the obstacles identified in the diagnosis, kind of like the overall plan. And then a set of coherent actions, that is, coordinated steps that work together in accomplishing the guiding policy. So we see that it's all about like a challenge, obstacles, and making a coordinated effort to break the obstacles and achieve our goal. What is that for us in the startup world? Okay, we have a growth strategy. We try to grow, where the symptom, the problem is we are not growing. And the root cause, maybe we believe that doing the diagnosis that is because the product is not good enough. It's not a 10x better product. So what is the guiding policy? Making it 10x, right? And the set of coherent actions, everyone coordinated. We do our research to understand what can we add. Then we have the backlog, and we prioritize that based on value. So it gets 10x, right? But look at this arrow here. Like for us to look at a problem and assess, we believe that the problem is caused by this, that happens because we have something called a mental model, an internal representation of external reality. That is our understanding of how things work. And currently, what we believe is if a product does the task better than anything else out there, people will switch. So we will grow. We'll use it and they will share. So we will grow more. And it's this idea, this mental model, that leads us to behave this way. But what if that mental model is not right? Then the outcome of our strategy will be that, we are not growing, we do all of this, and we are still not growing. Now, let's expand a little bit on what we have in our heads. What we believe is to grow, you need a 10x better product. If you have that, people will talk and you will grow more. If I'm not growing, then I have to add more features to make it 10x. And while that happens, then to compensate the word of mouth, I have to do paid ads. And that's how we think right now, how we act, how we organize our company and product and marketing. And these are our mental models. And we do our diagnosis, and these are our guiding policies. So today, and based on this, let's challenge this box, the 10x product, because if that is not true, everything else falls apart. If it is not true, let's see then what causes growth and how to do our first diagnosis to start dealing with that. So we have a single question. Do people switch because a product is better, or do they switch because something else? And to illustrate that, and to see how people decide and switch, we're going to follow my own journey, where I have a task right now. I want to write a book. I want to write it in a specific way, in an iterative way. I write a part of it, share, get feedback, and repeat. Remember, as a customer instance, I have task, context, and solution. What is my context? I create content like this, but it's my first time writing a book. And my current solution, I have my scripts and everything on Docs or on Word. So what I will do first? Will I just look for the 10x solution? No. Very first thing is, hey, can I use this? Can I just tweak the solutions that I have? We try to avoid switching as much as possible. So we will try, even if I can just squeeze it there, to see if that works. Interestingly enough, they are not good tools to write big content. They do the other things well, but not that. So what do I do now? Do I look for the 10x? No. In my head, the next step is, okay, let's see what the professionals used to write. And we will call that the identity default solution. So it's a solution that is a default, is trusted, but it's trusted by an identity group, a group of people with a shared identity. In this case, professional writers. So a little bit of research is going to tell you really quick that that tool is actually Scrivener. Does that work for me? I check it. And it's of course great to write books, but not in an iterative way. So it didn't work for me. So now what do? I will look for, okay, what is what people use? Maybe not professional writers, but what other things a lot of people use? And these are the default solutions. The solution that is trusted. And because a lot of people is using it, probably because it's good, right? And currently, that is Notion. That is the thing that everyone is talking about and everyone is using to write. So I will check that. And what they propose is more like building a wiki, like a group of articles that are interconnected. And that is interesting. So I can think about that. Also, they call themselves the new default. Interesting. Maybe they heard about the framework and changed the copy. But I agree. They are the default. But it doesn't work for me because it has too many things. I just want something to write, a book. That's it. Not like 20 other million things, which these million things make it slower. So I get to a point where it's like, look, whatever, something. Can I find something out there that works? Something that I don't know right now. The things that we don't know, the things that are less well known, are the non-default solutions. Will they work for me? And when you get to that point, and that is a desperate CI, somebody that everything else failed, and now you enter the jungle. And you start like, okay, best tools to write a book. And you find a list of 10 and a list of 23 and another list where you start seeing like this 12 here and this 23 and 4 and then you have to check all of these. And I ended up choosing a set of solutions that all of them had the features that I was looking for. Minimalistic, clean. I just want something to write. Super quick so I can move things and doesn't lag. And where I can have my loop. And I found Ulysses, IA, Calmly, Obsidian, and Tipora. And all of them do this. And look at them. And now we are looking at the copy. And it's not that we stop thinking about product and now we are doing marketing. No, like I'm using the homepage as the illustration of how they present themselves, how they help me understand what that product is. So we're talking about the same thing, even if now we are using the homepage for that. And the home pages help me understand that they have these things, but how do I choose right now? Like, give me something. They look exactly the same. So, yeah. After a lot of work, ended up going for Obsidian. But I could have gone for any other. It's like they are so close, so related to each other that it was not really like a clear decision. That one is the great one. Now, what do we have here? First, we see that at the Spade CI is somebody that everything else fails. And what got me to Obsidian is that it had perfect fit with me. Okay, so a few people get here, and perfect fit helps you get these users, some growth. But what about the other way around, down? Is that perfect fit enough to compete with the defaults and the identity defaults? And now here I'm talking about bad fit or perfect fit, not about 10x. Is it the same thing? Is it different? Let's see. So based on my story, now we can create a model where we will focus on these steps. People don't like to switch, but when they do, this is the order that they follow. And why is that? You have a group that has a shared identity. If all of them end up using the same thing, the solution becomes an identity default. In this case, Scrivener. Also, you have a lot of other people, the OK CIs, that are okay. They're using something that works for them. In this case, the default solutions that are Word and Google Docs, and now recently Notion got into this category. Now, because a lot of people, this is a big chunk of the market, is using just this bunch of solutions, when you have somebody that just started with the task, like new, like me, or somebody that was okay and now is switching because whatever is not working, and me can be also mapped as switching if you want, then the journey, as we saw, first check the entity default, does it work or not? Then, if it's not working, the default solutions, and it's only when nothing works, like what happened to me, that you become a Spade CI. And it's when you are here that now you look into all these non-default solutions with the problem that, sadly, a small group of people is going to spread through a lot of solutions. So it's hard to grow being here. One thing about default, don't think, so identity default is like really big and default is big and non-default is a small company. No. This is about networks of users and the information around them. So think like for a specific community of writers, like maybe they like to use like a specific solution and all of them use that. For them, that will be the identity default. And then you have like at the communities or at channels or at the country level, like you have different levels. To illustrate that, in my case, I got to this understanding of the solutions based on what I knew and what I researched on Google. When I was researching, I was looking for tools to write a book. I did that in English from London, where I'm based. If I would have looked for documentation tools instead of write a book, or looking for tools but I ask in German, not in English, or I talk with some Spanish friends that write books, then I could have got a different set. So what happens is you will see that in some places you get like kind of trending and maybe you are the default for that community and you talk with other group of people and they never heard about you. So it's not about big or small, it's about information, different networks. And now that we understand that, let's answer the question. How to make like 10x better, but 10x better than what? So let's imagine that we are Ulysses. It's like, but I chose Obsidian. Yeah, but Ulysses, as you will see, some much more interesting examples. So let's choose Ulysses. And we want to see, like, what can we do here? Ulysses presents themselves as a modern, minimal, faster way to write, which versus this all like Word or Google Docs, yeah, of course, it's 10x better than that, like clunky, full of features, like slow, sure. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because when you are looking for a new solution, first you look at this, and if they work for you, you will never look into the non-defaults. So it doesn't matter. And what about Notion? Because Notion is not the old way, it's the new way. And is Ulysses better? Maybe a little bit, and it also doesn't matter. In fact, it's even worse, because think, when people came here, like, if none of these solutions work, maybe they go for this new breed of like minimalistic, clean solutions. So there were a lot of people maybe bouncing from this group, becoming the specialized, and these companies were kind of growing. Now suddenly you have Notion here. What they do is they capture a lot of people. So now there are way less cases of the specialized. And these companies here are in much more trouble right now, while Notion is growing like crazy because they're capturing all these people that were not using this tool. So you can be better, it still doesn't matter. And what about the solutions here? How much better? They look exactly the same. And because they look the same, which one do you choose? What is going to happen is that, people will choose them for random reasons because there is no like a clear criteria. Oh, this is the one. So we have a problem here. So based on what we saw, if we simplify that and try to answer our question, do people switch because Approach is better, 10x better, Ulysses is 10x better than these ones, and it doesn't matter because if they work, they will never check Ulysses. And it may be slightly better than Notion, and it doesn't matter because if Notion works, I will never check Ulysses. So they don't even have a chance. And against these ones, if your product looks the same and I don't see a difference, I will end up choosing one. And maybe if that one kind of works, I stay there. And I never check Ulysses. So we see that this idea of 10x is misleading. We will see that it's important to have a product that is interesting, that is special, but it's not related with 10x. So if it is not 10x, what it is? What helps us grow? So what we are looking for is growth dynamics. A dynamic is a force that stimulates growth in a system. Remember, we talk about the market as a complex adaptive system. This network of people that are connected, that are then several layers of networks, and that they behave in specific ways. This way, right? But why do they behave that way? Why do we follow this journey? The thing is, the market is complex. There is a lot of information there. So people will look for signals to be able to deal with that amount of complexity. You can't choose every possible solution out there every time that you have to switch to something. You look for signals. And what other people use is a really strong signal. It's telling you, okay, if all these people are using it, it's probably because it's good. We will say, maybe it's because it's the best. The other way around. If it doesn't seem that a lot of people are using it, really strong signal, maybe it's because it's not that good. So look at this. We think that a product is good or not based on how many people we know is using it, not on if the product is good or not. Like that is really difficult to compare in an absolute form. We just use this signal with some nuance. Because the signal is so strong, if the product kind of works for you, you will prefer to use Google Docs even if it kind of works than something that could be better for you, but feels too risky because this signal. In other words, these guys can afford to be kind of crappy and still grow. But we can't. If we are here, we need, like, the user is going to look for the best thing that works for them, looking for perfect fit, with the detail that people are not going to check all the solutions. I'm not going to check the 20. I'm going to check one or two. But when checking 2 out of the 20, I need some signal that tells me which one. And if everyone looks similar, I don't know which one to choose. And if they look similar to the ones that doesn't work for me, then I will think, okay, if this one that is trusted didn't work, this one that I don't know and looks pretty much the same, it's not going to work either. So let's look at the dynamics. First, to get out of this place, like the force that is going to get us out, first we need perfect fit. Remember, approach with a specific CI. If we try to serve with approach too many CIs, customer instances, the product will stop being perfect for them and it will start to be okay. We can't afford okay. But if it looks too similar, yeah, it can be on paper better, but how do people choose you? Remember, we have to signal them we are the one that you're looking for. And we have to be different than everyone else, or they will think this will not work either. Different than the other ones. That's how we start our product. We saw the crappy ones and we build something better. Yeah, but what about the new default using the new way? And what about these ones too? So it's different as in one of a kind, unique respect to all of them. Unique in a way that matters to the CI, not unique as in, and we are bluer than everyone else. Does that matter for the CI? Does that make the perfect fit? Does that make that the go-to? So this is what we want them to think, the perception that we want in the market. Oh, so you want to write a book, you are a beginner like writer, then Ulysses. Now I have a criteria. But I never heard that. They were just saying we are simple, elegant. No, which one is the best tool to write a book for beginners? Now, this is for the first part. And what we said is the next really strong signal is it can be trusted. So that's the next dynamic. Not more features, trust. And there is a special type of trust that is, if not only other people use it, but people like me use it, or the people that I want to be like professional writers, then that is way stronger. So let's try to answer our question again. Do people switch because approach is 10x better? We say that no. But now we know that there are these elements before, where this is our new mental model. We compare that versus the old mental model. What is better is a 10x product. No, it's not about more features. Having a group that uses you, becoming the symbol of an identity group, is gonna bring people, not more features. And trust is gonna bring people, no more features. And then perfect fit and one of a kind, no more features. Remember, perfect fit is no more features, is the right features. And when you look at this, what you realize is that it's not the best solution that wins, not the best on paper, is the most popular, the perceived as being used by others. That is what matters. But I am not saying that the product is not important. The opposite to that. What I'm saying is we need a really special product, like a one-of-a-kind product, right? With perfect fit. But then once we have that, it's not about more features and ads. It's about looking for how do we get this trust. So it looks like everyone is using it until actually everyone is using it. No more features. So now that we know that, let's see the implications of this with both mental models, where we have the 10x mental model and the pull mental model. That is saying what creates growth is first identity group symbol, and then trust, and then like, so this is what will create pull. Okay. But if we follow this, what happens? What is the outcome? If we add more features, we stop being a perfect fit. We start having features that make it slower, that make it more difficult to understand, that make it... So we start to break the fit. But not only that, if we add more features, and these features are usually inspired by competitors, then we lose this differentiation. We start doing what everyone else is doing, and we are another one, not one of a kind. And because this is not working, then we will do paid ads. And what happens with paid ads? Ads are good for awareness. Okay, now I know that you exist. Amazing. But it's not building trust. Remember, we define trust as we see a lot of people talking about it and using it. Other people talking. And ad is we are talking. That doesn't build trust. And because that is not working, then we will start doing push. With offers, with counters, with drips, emails, with everything that we can imagine trying to get these people. And the push is also a strong signal. One that makes the company look desperate. And when you look desperate, people will think, oh, yeah, they're desperate to sell. That is probably because they're not that good. And you can think, hey, but big companies do discounts and they work. Yes, because when you are an identity group, or like you're an identity default or a default, and you do a discount, it's a bargain. When you are a non-default and you do a discount, you are desperate. We can't follow the same strategies as in a discount is good or bad. No, it depends on your the perception of the market about you. So a push damages trust. So if we do this, how are we gonna get like out of this place when we are just getting things worse? And you can say, Diego, you don't understand. We have a USP that explains that we are one of a kind, and we have logos and testimonials that create trust, and we have a photo of these writers, so we identify with that identity group. Okay. Identity becoming the symbol of an identity group is when is the answer to the question, what do professional writers use? It's like, oh yeah, like Scriven is what everyone else here is using. Where a photo of somebody of that group in our homepage, it helps. It's signaling, hey, we are for this type of people. I'm not saying it doesn't help. I'm saying it's not enough. Not close to enough. But it helps. And trust is about what do most people use to write. So the logos and testimonials are helping. And maybe this signal worked much better in the past, but now everyone is doing that. And I see all the logos and I can't click. Look, I don't know if you just had like a breakfast with these guys or they are your biggest client and why, or even if they are happy. And because everyone is using it, it's losing its worth as a signal. I'm not saying they are bad. Use them, of course, but they are not enough. That is not the trust that I'm talking about. That is a lot of other people talking, not us in our homepage. And what about the USP? This is about being perceived as fundamentally unique. The USP as unique selling proposition should represent that. And we tend to create USPs that are not that unique. But again, that is what we say about us. What we want is that they repeat the USP. Then is when it's working. So it's not enough. So now, based on what we learned, how do we do growth? how do we define a strategy using this new mental model in the shape of a framework. A framework that is something that gives you an overall picture of possible courses for action, maps the different pieces, the dynamics, how things move, so we can assess where we are and how to move to the next place. So exactly what we have now. Where the mental models, we create two new mental models. One, there is such thing as the perception of a company, where first you start as a non-default, and then when more people are talking about you in this network, then you become a default solution, and eventually an identity default solution. So 3 states. And we have another mental model about the dynamics, about how to move from one to the other, the forces that push you to the next box. Where first we need perfect fit plus one of a kind in a way that we are perceived as the go-to for a task and context. It's like, okay, that is the first ingredient to get out of this box. We also need to do some things here in the arrow that will help us get this trust. And when we get this trust, we grow, because now all these people that are switching come to us, they don't go to the desperate CI. And then a set of other tactics that we will use to get to identity group symbol. That is the second thing, the second force that is going to help us get more users. So what is the diagnosis? Well, understand where we are we in which box, and what are we missing? It's like, okay, to get out of the box where we are, do we need more of this or more of that? But we say this depends on the perception of the users. It's kind of like at a network level. So we will have to assess that per network. And the guiding policy, this is everything that we are learning in Pool by Design. How to map the CIs, talk with them, understand them, map them, how to build a perfect fit product, target conditions. And we will soon talk about the one-of-a-kind part. And then what is in these arrows that will help us get trust or becoming a symbol? That is what we will learn with DMARC, decentralized marketing, which now the name makes sense, right? It's decentralized because we want others to talk about us, not centralized, that is we talking about us. That is what we build trust, others talking about us. So we can start with the diagnosis. There are two parts, external and the internal one. So for the external one, let's start at the very beginning, the go-to part. I recommend you to put side by side your homepage, let's say that we releases, with our competitors. This is how we present ourselves. And the question is, do we present ourselves as the go-to? I mean, we have to be the first one saying that. And if not, at least as a one-of-a-kind, like as a true, unique selling proposition. And remember, now we are releases and we are not doing great. It's the same thing. Ultimate, sure, whatever, it's the same stuff. Now we will look the other way around. Are we perceived? So the first one is, how we present ourselves. Now, how do people perceive us? For that, you can search for things like, okay, tools to write books when you're a beginner, or just to write books, and see what people say, both media and users in communities. And we want to see something like this. Scrivener excels in organizational capabilities, making it a go-to for large-scale projects. We know that Scrivener is also identity default, but in this case, look at this. They are telling us, hey, go-to for large scale. So if you want to write a book, you have a lot of pieces, that is the go-to. But we would want to be here, not a Scrivener. What are they saying about Ulysses? Offers a minimalistic, okay, into this bunch of solutions, no differentiation that matters here. Let's see how is it going with one of a kind, like research versus competitors are we perceived as different? How do people perceive the differences between one and another? Ulysses shows thumbnails of images, but IA Writer handles images in a similar way to content blocks. And here, hey, Ulysses versus IA Writer. Markdown syntax is more complete or less. Really? Like, this is... Maybe this matters for ultra hardcore users, like really picky. They're looking for like the extreme perfect fit. Yeah, but for everyone else, this is not telling me anything. And maybe this simple markdown syntax, more complete, matters to do something else, but nobody's gonna read this like to get that deep, to care about that, so we are not doing great here. Let's see at least like perfect fit. How do we know that? You can look at reviews, but we are looking for this external image too, right? So do you have users that defend you when somebody's asking like, so subreddit, writing, Ulysses or Scrivener? Okay, fight. Do we have people fighting for us? I was looking at Ulysses, but I don't think I could handle. Okay, that one is doing the opposite. This one. I demoed both, ended up going with Ulysses for two reasons. Okay, we have somebody defending us. Great. Like, that seems like we have something. What is that something that we have? Mobile capabilities? No markdown syntax, no minimalistic. No. You can write on the phone. And because reviews seem to favor it. Think about this. This is saying, for this person, Ulysses is much closer to be like a default solution. While the benefit, the differentiation was because reviews seem to favor it, not because more features. It's just the minimal one. Hey, and it has a mobile app. Look at this. Now, let's get out of our first set of boxes, trust. How do we diagnose for trust? This is how people build their sense of like what's going on. You go to Google, you check a few of these lists, and you see if you are there. So, are we there? And Scrivener it is everywhere. Hey, we made it to top 10. This is something. But it's not what we would like as Ulysses. So this doesn't seem to be happening as often as we want. And what about becoming an identity group symbol? Search for things like, okay, what? Now a group of people. What do the professional writers or whatever it is use? Like, what is the tool, like the thing? And see if you're there. And look at this, like Scrivener alternatives. And they're talking about alternatives, but they start with solid. Scrivener is a solid writing program that is has been a good go-to for a lot of authors. As in, yeah, like this is it. Now they will start explaining like how others, can, yeah, but this is signaling, sure, there can be others, but if this is it, I should start here. And if not, yeah, I can continue. I should start here. So if we map the questions against this, you clearly see like, okay, how do you present? How are you perceived for this box? And then do you have users defending you as a proxy to see like fit? Something that goes farther than just like the reviews, right? Like people defending you. And are you perceived as a one of a kind, and then perceived as a trusted solution and as a go-to for an identity group. So these questions are helping us map this thing. Of course, when I'm talking about go-to, people will use different wordings. But as you saw with examples, I found exactly the same wording in some cases. So some people will use that one. And of course, I just give you some ideas of questions and processes to look at. You want to understand what is going on here, and depending on your company, you will want to do different searches and search outside Google in other like places and blogs and famous publications and things like that. What about Ulysses? It seems like some people really love them. I mean, it's a great product, but it looks too similar to the other ones. So they are stuck here. And when talking about differentiation, like there is nothing there. So they don't become the go-to for anything. They launched a long time ago when they were truly one of a kind, almost really close to IAA Writer. But now a lot of them came and none of them jump into the next box. While Scrivener was here all the time and they dominated this since forever, and Notion came and has like a similar approach to writing that Ulysses, but they got the trust and they just crushed everyone else. But now we know if we are Ulysses, it's like, okay, like the key thing is this differentiation. And we will talk more about that in the next session. That was the external part. Let's quickly see the internal part of the diagnosis. Remember that we were talking with users and we had all these questions. Like, did you know about us from before? That is telling us, like, when they reply, yeah, of course, like I heard a lot about you. Okay, but that for that user, you were a default. Or, yeah, no, I am here because all the pros use this thing. When we are asking them, what did they say about us or what were you expecting? We are looking for, like, what did you perceive as different for us? In the exploring story, when we were asking them, what else did you try? They're like, oh, I tried everything. Look, I ran out of options. You were my last hope. That is the definition of a desperate. Yeah, that is telling us we are a non-default. At least for that guy in that network. And in the fit and unfit story, what were you able or not able to do? That is telling us about the fit. We are mapping that CI and we are seeing how for that person it connected or it didn't. So the diagnosis is telling us a lot also, not only about who is coming and their CI, but also their perception, their journey to us. And remember, all of that per network. So we always have to look at like this, where did you get the information about us? How, like, trying to connect these networks, like, oh, okay, all these people are looking at these specific like pages and this is how they get a sense of what they should use. So now we have like a plan. We have new mental models where we can now do proper strategy. We learned a lot about how to perfect fit. So now the last part of Pull by Design, that will be next session, how to become one of a kind without having to change our product. Because maybe you're thinking, okay, but if to be different now, I have to change everything. Look, now in our chase to become 10x and add more features, we're doing more effort than what we probably need to make. It's about how it's perceived, much less about what it is. And then the last part of the program will be all about decentralized marketing to understand what is in these arrows, the guiding policy with the coherent set of actions that help us get there. Now we have a better map that will help us like better understand what is in front of us. That is not just like 10x. Now we have more options. Now it's not just about more features. Now it's about the right features and trust and identity. And we will get lost. And this is why we will do the diagnosis over and over again and see and correct. But we have a much better map of the territory. So we will be able to reach to the peak. Thank you very much.